So I've been away on holiday for the first half of War Thunder's export order event, and because of that, I'm not going to bother grinding the 2 billion parts needed to complete said event. That being said, I wanted to touch quickly on the topic because I think that the reward vehicles for this event are a little bit, well, boring, basically. Especially the top tier aircraft, well not top tier, but the top rank aircraft reward being the F5A. I feel like this aircraft should have been a tech tree vehicle for the US, not a top level event reward. Of the 3 F5s now available to US players in War Thunder, only one is a researchable aircraft when it should really be the other way around, the other one being a premium F5C. The only thing you can actually get in the tech tree itself is the F5E. There's also the question of uniqueness. The main attraction of a lot of these Build-A-Bear events in the past was the unique vehicles that they offered. I think that the two best examples of these events were the Battlefield Engineer event and the Space Race event. Not in terms of the grinding mechanics or anything to do with that, but purely in terms of reward vehicles. Now, I'm not a fan of these type of events at all, because I rarely have the insane amount of free time required to complete them, but I would definitely feel more inclined to do so if the rewards were actually interesting. For me, the F5A just doesn't feel like a unique enough reward to be worth my time, and that's not a complaint against the F5, I love that aircraft, but it's not enough to entice me into even contemplating this event, and the same goes for that PT-16 Leopard prototype thing. So what would have been a better alternative to the F5A? Personally, if we have to replace it with another American aircraft, I'd like to see an early model of one of the other Century fighters. Currently, there are only 2 of the 6 Century series of fighters in the game, the F100 and the F104. An event like this would be a really good way to introduce one of the other series to the game for the first time, particularly an early production or a prototype model. The later, more mass-produced stuff should of course go in the tech tree where possible, so this leaves us with 4 options to choose from. Option 1 being the F101 Voodoo. This aircraft had its design specifications changed several times due to the rapidly evolving technology and conflicts of the 1950s, however it eventually found its place within the US Air Force. The F101A would be the earliest model of the Voodoo that could be used in War Thunder, and there is also the XF-88 prototype to consider as well. Now these early models had no air-to-air missiles, however they had 4 20mm M39 cannons. The F101A could theoretically carry conventional bombs, rockets and Falcon air-to-air missiles, however it never used them operationally. However, as War Thunder seems to be blurring the lines on what should and what should not be selected as accurate payloads, looking at you F4F, I think it's a good one to consider. Option 2 is the F102 Delta Dagger. This was America's first operational supersonic interceptor and delta wing fighter. 1,000 were built and they saw extensive service between 1956 and 1979. On top of that, I think they're drop dead gorgeous. The earliest model that could be used in the game is the F102A, specifically the Model A's that were made after the major redesign to solve the problem of transonic drag that prevented the aircraft safely exceeding Mach 1. The F102 has no guns, however, so its armament will only consist of missiles and rockets. It mainly carried the AIM-4 Falcon air-to-air missiles, the earliest air-to-air missiles that the US fielded in combat, which currently aren't found in the game, so it would be really interesting to see these added. Option 3 is the F105 Thunder Chief. This was a Mach 2 capable fighter-bomber that saw extensive service during the Vietnam War. It was actually nicknamed the Thud because it was so damn heavy. It was in fact the heaviest single-seater aircraft fielded by the Americans until the F-35 came along. It was a very durable and capable aircraft, and the Thud could carry any piece of ordnance fielded at the time, and its own bomb load actually exceeded that of a B-17 Flying Fortress. The F105B model never saw combat, however it would be the earliest candidate to be introduced into the game. It had advanced avionics for its time, a 6-barrel Vulcan Gatling gun with 1,028 rounds of ammunition, and along with its impressive ground attack ordnance, the later models of the F105 also carried AIM-9 Sidewinders. Out of all of the candidates, this is the one that I am most disappointed about not seeing yet in the game. Option 4 is the F106 Delta Dart, which was an evolution of the F102. The Delta Dart, although it was more commonly known simply as the 6, would become the last specialist interceptor fielded by the US Air Force. Air-to-air combat testing suggested that it was a reasonable match for the F4 Phantoms. The F106 had superior maneuverability overall, however the Phantom had the advantage of better radar and more numerous weapon systems. The F106A had a maximum speed of 2,454 km an hour, carried a 6-barrel Vulcan cannon, and carried 2 AIM-4 Falcon missiles. Later versions had improved air-to-air missiles and avionics systems, which would make marvelous additions to the US tech tree, but for an event vehicle I think the 106A would be a good choice. I'm not sure why these aircraft have not been added into the game yet. One theory is that the AIM-4 missiles, being historically unreliable, would be somewhat difficult to implement and balance, as these aircraft would see opponents armed with more advanced AIM-9 missiles. However, I hope whatever hurdles there may be are overcome soon, because all of these gorgeous machines would make for a wonderful addition to the game, and they would certainly make for a more interesting event vehicle than another copy and paste job that is feeling far too common a practice at the moment. Let me know in the comments what other aircraft you think would be a better choice. I'd be interested to know your thoughts, especially in regards to Century fighters or you know, other national fighters as well, but particularly the Century fighters, as that's what we're talking about today. But look, that's all for this video. I just wanted to quickly talk about it. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.